And welcome back to the College Huddle, everybody. I'm your host, Eric Boggs, and I am joined today by Nathan from. He's one half the Heel Brothers. He is the host of my favorite North Carolina podcast, and it's not just because they're a part of the College Huddle. It is because they're just that doggone good. Dude, you guys have been like killing it, dude. You guys' numbers were through the roof this past year, man.
Yeah, it helps when Bill Belichick comes to town. I'll tell you that much. When Bill Belichick comes to town, and we have a lot more to talk about him tonight. A lot of things happened, but yeah, it's sure enough the flooding of people that came through the channel was absolutely ridiculous. I think we had one video get somewhere close to like 40,000 views in a week.
Woo!
It was ridiculous at how fast it jumped. It watching. I try my best to always keep up with all the comments and try my best to make sure that if you take the time to comment and like and all that stuff, we try our best to make sure that we're getting back to you, that we're talking with you, that we're making you feel welcome and at home. And I have to admit that there were way too many comments in order for me. I tried my best, but at least I could do is just hit the like button on all of them. That's just about it. So, yeah, it
Good
was
for
awesome,
you.
and it was a time to say the least. But yeah, we loved it over there.
Before we dive into Bill Belichick and the first lady of UNC football,
I love it. I love
uh,
it.
can you sum up the Mac Brown era for me?
2.0. And I just checked it, 49,000 on that video. I just checked it right now. Which is absolutely nuts considering our dumb little channel. But no, Mac Brown 2.0, heavily needed. I think that would be something a lot of people would be surprised to hear, but it was heavily needed. With Larry Fedora, there was times where it looked really good with Larry Fedora, but towards the end of Larry's tenure with North Carolina, it got bad. He gave up. I'm quoting one of our insiders that he thankfully graciously comes on our podcast pretty consistently. Andrew Jones from Tar Heel Illustrated does a great job over there, but he says, dude, we were there. He says, I was, we doing our coaches interviews and everything. And he was like, dude, he gave up weeks before the season was over. So when the season ended, for North Carolina to have a resurgence, bringing in a name like Mac Brown, the guy that took North Carolina and was making them a prominent program until they decided, hey, we don't care about football enough to pay you, anywhere close to where you should be paid, and we want you to take, pennies on the dollar, until that happened. Carolina was at its peak prominence with Mac Brown in the first go around, but in the 2.0 era, he came in and sure enough, brought us over some recruits. Kind of something. It's very similar to what we're seeing right now with Bill Belichick. You bring in that name, it's a resurgence. Holy cow! Here comes the transfers and the recruits and the fours and the fives, 5 stars that you're not used to getting on a consistent basis, and it was great. But ultimately, there was some good teams. You were graced with two amazing quarterbacks in Sam Howell and Drake May, and you had some great teams, but the defensive side of the ball could just never be found. For some reason, it was an issue, and the physicality got to them, and it was each year. It seemed like you got to a bigger stage and you fell every single time. Um, and that's just the way it ended up winning, it ended up going. And when it happened, Sam Howell, they get to the Orange Bowl. They technically should have been. This is the 2021 year, I believe. They technically should have been in the ACC championship against Clemson. I would have loved to have saw what that happened. But that year was the COVID year, and ACC, let's bring Notre Dame in because they need a home, and since they don't care about us any other time, let's bring them in. Screw you, Notre Dame. So that you go to the Orange Bowl, you lose a heartbreaker to Texas A&M. There was a good squad that year under Jimbo Fisher. I think one of his very last that he had at A&M. Then the next year, you only win 6 games, and you lose bad to South Carolina, a team that had just hired Shane Beamer. They were hot garbage and they were trying to find themselves, and you had a bad year. You came in ranked 10th in the country that year, and instantly, the first year with fans back and everything, and ended up being a 6-win season. Go to Drake's next year. You get to the ACC championship game. You're 9-1. I remember going to the Georgia Tech game. You lose that game. Then you lose the NC State game. Then you lose the ACC championship game. I mean, getting stomped by Cade Klubnik, who nobody even heard of at that point in time. DJ Uyunglele was their quarterback, and he was my favorite quarterback that night for about 5 minutes until Dabo to finally just, wait, screw it. Against North Carolina ACC championship, let's just pull the plug on DJ. We've been super loyal to this guy up to this point. Screw it. Thanks. Uh, and you played good against Oregon. The next year, you're 6-0, and you finish out the rest of the season 2-4, ranked 10th in the country again. And Drake May leaves, and then this year was you don't have a quarterback year. You started out with Max Johnson from Texas A&M, thought he was going to be good, gets his leg snapped halfway through the game against Minnesota in Minnesota. By the way, shout out to the Sky U podcast. If anybody is a Minnesota fan, you go check them out. I love those guys, and I've got to get up there for their daggum festival. That has still fascinated me, and I've got to get up there for that. I love those guys. They do a great job. But also, you had a backup quarterback, Connor Harrow, who had been there for a couple of years, studied under Drake, and you thought, hey, maybe he could be the guy. And he's got a lot of skills, but he's not a baller. And I hate to say it, but that's just the case. He don't have the heart of a dog in him, and it showed. And then you go to your third string quarterback, which, thank you me, the guy had played for North Carolina for a few years before going to Arkansas, where he came from. He came back. He was told he was the third string, wasn't going to be able to start. Hey, get through this year, get ready in spring of this year, and then maybe you have a chance to start this upcoming year. And within 3 weeks, he's the starting quarterback. And he was out of shape, everything. And he got himself in shape, and he did the best that he could. And Amari and Hampton carried this year. But again, the defensive side of the ball just wasn't found. And it was just each and every year there were such high hopes. And you started to go, and then it was just like the floor just dropped from Carolina every single year. And that's ultimately where this thing went. It started out great, and when the door started, dropping, and the floor dropped from under Carolina twice. Once it happened the second time, it derailed everything, and apathy set in. I was in this. I mean, we lost 70-50 to JMU at home. I was in attendance for that game. 70-50. When I got there, now our stadium isn't like a SEC or a Big Ten stadium. It only holds about 60, right? When I got there for the game, before the game started, now we were undefeated coming into that game. 3-0. Hot dog. Here we go. Year might be all right after all. Kind of curious about the quarterback situation, all that good jazz. It was maybe 75% full. Beautiful day, everything. By the time halftime rolled around, there may have been 2,000 of us. And vast majority, I'm talking about 2,000 North Carolina fans. There was probably another 5 to 10 JMU. They took over the stadium.
Oh, my.
Because all our guys left. The apathy and the just disappointment in Carolina just set at an all new level. And then after that game, when, tempers are up, you just got embarrassed, historically embarrassed. Larry Fedora didn't make it past losing, having 70 points hung on him by ECU. Okay, well, the 70 by JMU is the equivalent for Mac. And he said, well, if I'm the problem, I'll just leave. And he actually said, I'm resigning in the middle of the locker room in front of everybody, and had to take it back. He said, crap, I said that, and I shouldn't have said that. I'm just, heat of the moment and everything, and it got out. That was the problem. It got out. There were players that left that locker room thinking that was true, that Mac's gone in the middle of the season, 4 games in technically at that time. That happened. And
Wow.
after that, you just can't recover from it. And it was
Right.
just a slow ball through the rest of the season. And sure enough, then you had Tylee Kraft pass away, and that was hard.
Hmm.
That was hard on the fan base. That was hard on the players. And shout out to them, guys like J.J. Jones, guys like the entire wide receiver core, the entire team. They had his funeral right down here in Sumter, South Carolina, not too far from me, because that's where he came from. Him and J.J. Jones, one of our wide receivers, who just got picked up by the Jacksonville Jaguars, by the way. But they had that going on. They had all the quarterback situation going on. They have a head coach that they clearly know that he ain't gonna be here. You know, I don't really think there was many shocked people that, And then it was a whole big issue with the front office. By that I mean administrators, donors. Donors were not happy. Stuff like this started leaking out, and it was just the barn was already halfway destroyed. It was on fire, and it was halfway gone. So it was just finish out the season, and of course, I love Mac Brown to death. Great dude, awesome guy, but he has never taken being fired seriously or been able to take it well ever, and it was a barn burner on the way out the door. Even while Bill Belichick showed up, the barn was still on fire because of everything that happened there. And that's as much as I can say about that. But there you go.
Well,
Mac Brown
Matt,
2.0.
Mac Brown's been put to pasture. Hopefully, he's not stuck in that barn that was on fire. He's been put out to pasture. It
Oh yeah,
it
yeah. He got out of North Carolina. He's back in Austin, Texas, man. He don't even care no more.
yeah.
Yeah.
Get out of Dodge. Okay, so that's thank you for summing up the Mac Brown era as a North Carolina fan. Now, you would think, okay, we've got this old guy. Let's go for the young Philly here. Uh, and I
The
guess
youth movement in Carolina by 6 months.
but
The youth movement.
I guess partially you could say you did. But
Yeah.
but okay, but you go out and you get arguably the greatest NFL coach not named, uh, the coach for Green Bay here, okay? Um,
Oh yeah.
Lombardi here, okay? Like this is the most winningest Super Bowl coach in the history of the NFL, and he's coming to coach college football for your university.
Sounds
Explain this.
stupid. It
Explain this
sounds
to
so
me, dude.
stupid, doesn't it?
Explain this to me. I'm
Okay.
still trying to wrap my head around this thing.
You are what? How do you think we feel? Like, what the flip is happening here? I remember being up in Chapel Hill. I called a hotel room the night before Mac's last game. Me and my brother decided, you know what, we're gonna be there for the last game. Like, it's Mac's last game. No matter what happened, we're gonna be there. And like all the thoughts of like who's gonna be. Is it John Summerall? Is it the guy out of Iowa State? Is it I think that's Matt Campbell, if I remember correctly. I think
Campbell.
that might be
Hmm.
him. Um
An
is it
Ohio
going to
guy. He's an
be
Ohio guy.
yeah, is it going to be like a number of people? Could it also be
Hmm.
Arthur Smith coming out of the NFL to come back, a North Carolina guy? Could it be him? All those and I saw somebody. This person, I wish I could pinpoint who the heck they are because they are a genius. They said, "Oh, wouldn't it be funny if Bill Belichick came?" And you see that as you're scrolling, you're like, "Oh, that would be stupid." You know. 2 weeks later, they're having interviews with the flipping guy. I'm like, what? What? What are we doing here? Is this for real? And like, I hit up my insider, which again, thankfully, he's very gracious with us. Uh, he told me, he's like, look, they're in the hiring process. They were zoning in on Summerall. Summerall was the guy, and Campbell was a close second. Now we saw how both of those teams ended up, and that kind of pulled them back. long enough for they did a Zoom call with Belichick on a Tuesday. It was the week of Thanksgiving. And on Thursday, they were in New York talking to him. And when I heard that, I said, there like there's no way this happens. And he was like, stay tuned. Because he can tell me some stuff, but he can't tell me everything. And sure enough, they got everything taken care of, and boom, here he is. We already cut they already cut the sleeves off the hoodies and everything. We did the whole deal. Yeah, Chapel Bill was born.
Chapel Bill. All right, all right. So get us Chapel Bill. That's
I love
did
it. I
did you
love the
just
reaction.
coin that, or did you pick that up from somebody?
Oh no, they are making T-shirts in Chapel Hill
Chapel
called
Bill.
Chapel Bill. We went to Boston to our bowl game, the Fenway Bowl,
Yeah.
and they were Chapel Bill hoodies everywhere. He'd only been in the program for like a few weeks at that point in time. Yeah, sure. This is a legit thing. This is a movement inside of
It's
Chapel Hill right now.
it's a movement.
Hmm.
Oh, there's a lot of things that yeah, okay. I'm gonna go there. So uh,
You're on a roll today, Eric. You're on a
but
roll.
yeah, I could there's a Cialis joke somewhere in here, but I'm not gonna go there.
We
Uh
might get another sponsor. Heck, screw it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, you never know. Cialis brought to you by Carolina Blue. Um
Oh,
so all right, let's catch let's catch everybody up on what has been just a wild spring under Bill Belichick there at Chapel Bill.
dude, yeah, it's been a lot. First and foremost, a lot of guys. So the hiring process to get Bill Belichick in there took a minute. It was because at some point in time we all knew, like, okay, Belichick's the guy. Because Sumrall re-upped, Campbell re-upped, everybody that was a potential target got re-signed or stated, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to North Carolina. Because that was the big conversation. So we know, like, it's Chapel Bill. Look at me
Mhm.
go. It's Chapel Bill or really bust. We didn't know who the heck was going to be the backup guy if everything didn't go right with Bill. But it took 2.5 weeks longer than it even should have. Like, it was a done deal, basically. And then 2.5 weeks go by of this back lulling back and forth, and we don't know. And I'm texting my insider, and he's like, shoot, I don't even know. We can't pinpoint this thing because it was a very touchy situation, which kind of plays into what we're going to talk about actually. It was the whole thing it was finicky. It's about the best way I
Mhm.
can explain it. It's finicky. And when he came in, so we had a lot of our guys hit the portal. Now, they didn't hit the portal and go shopping. They hit the portal to get their names in because the timelines were getting really close there. If they didn't get in, then they were stuck. And if they didn't like who was coming in, then they're stuck. They have to go through spring and then get to the other side. When Belichick signed, and it was a done deal, and he did the whole press conference and the Ponkum circumstance and all that good jazz, a lot of guys came back. A lot of guys came back. Now, we did lose a few. Some guys that you kind of expected to lose because considering the kind of guy that Bill Belichick is and what he will and won't put up with, you can see how some of these softer guys will probably say, you know what, maybe I need to go somewhere else. Maybe a lot of and we now that was another problem under Mac Brown. We had a lot of 4 stars, a few 5 stars that came in highly touted that didn't produce, and they did that because you can basically pinpoint. They thought, oh, I can go to Carolina and start easily, and they did, and there wasn't competition for their spots. That's another problem. You bring Bill Belichick in, you're probably bringing a host of guys with you, and he's going to bring in competition, and he don't care. We saw that at every level, because Belichick just don't play around. And then the hiring process come through, like his son's coming, you kind of you kind of wonder like how is this thing going to work? North Carolina's NIL program for football. Now, what people don't know, and this is something that people have to give Mac Brown a little bit of pass on, is that North Carolina, the University of North Carolina, has never, ever saw football as the creme de la creme, the cash
Right.
cow. Clearly, that's not the case. We all know this. College football is king. It is the revenue driver. It's what's driving all the changing of the conference realignment. It's driving all of this. We see it. NIL money is going nuts. And now North Carolina, when Bill actually signed the contract, our NIL went from 4 million for football to 20 million. Just like that. Instantly. No questions asked. Carolina finally went all in on football, and they are solely in on football. Basketball doesn't like that too much. That's neither here nor there. But if you're making money through football, everybody eats. And here's the problem. Carolina football ain't making much money. Carolina basketball isn't making much money, contrary to popular belief. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One of the main reasons is with the Dean Dome, the treasured, loved Dean Dome. A lot of the people in the lower bowl are sitting there for free because they help fund the building. People don't know that. There's not enough seating. There's a ton of seating, but when you're given almost a daggum quarter, 15% to a quarter away for free because they helped fund it, you're not making as much money. Then put a bad product on the court. We've saw that a lot over the last 5 years. Women's basketball it's costing money, and all your non-revenue sports, which we love to death, and we're very good at, thankfully, they're not making that much money. Actually, they're costing money as well. So, who's making the most money? Football. Bad football product. There you go. That's just another. Put that in the summary. But Carolina goes all in on football. They start. Belichick gets in there, and he immediately goes on the road. Doesn't play around. He don't mess with nobody. He goes immediately on the road. And I got to give him credit for that because that dude has stayed on the road. If you're available to be on the road, Bill's on the road. He's on flights. He's in people's houses. He's in high schools. He's in wherever he needs to be. And that was the thing. That was the big conversation. Will he do this? Will he go out there and recruit? I remember asking that same question. Like, will he be this guy? I said, I believe that he will, but would it surprise me if he didn't? No, not one bit, actually. But sure enough, Michael Lombardi and Bill Belichick put together a great staff. Seriously, some great staff. North Carolina is pulling recruits because his son Steve was at Washington. He was the DC
Right.
at Washington. Well, one guy that good old Steve brought with him, a guy named Armand, one of the best defensive back coaches in the country. And that dude is bringing all of his DBs with him. That's how a Thaddeus Dixon shows up at North Carolina. We get a Kamari House as a top stud out of Washington. Washington has been putting together some good defensive pieces. It was their defense that led them this year because they had no offense. That's who they were. And he's bringing a lot of those guys with him, along with the great recruit. We have more recruits out of California coming to North Carolina this year than Carolina's had come out of California or anywhere in the West Coast over the last 25 years. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. It's ridiculous. I love it. But sure enough, Carolina has gone full in. Bill Belichick is going all out on his portal recruits. We actually have North Carolina has it's beautiful to see this. Currently, right now in the class of 2026, Carolina is ranked in the top 10. That's not normal for North Carolina. It's not. Now, we may be in the top 25, but we have been top 10 and actually borderlining top 5 with a few more commits. As a matter of fact, we just had one pop just a little bit ago. So Bill Belichick is doing his job recruiting, getting two guys. He's hosting guys all the time. He's bringing them out to the basketball games. He's shown up to community events. So he's getting in there with the community. He bought pizza for all the sororities in Chapel Hill for the Duke North Carolina games. Just bought them. Said, hey, by the way, we're going to buy you pizza. And sure enough, pizza rolls up. And sometimes Bill Belichick was the one delivering the sucker. It's awesome stuff you feel like you only see out of a TV show. We have Full House
Chapel
going on.
Bill, baby.
Apple Bill. I'll get you. We'll get you a cutoff sleeve hoodie. We'll do that. So yeah, it's happened. Spring practice comes now. Here's where we get to where we are today. Um, when Mac's a different kind of guy than Bill. Me and you talked about this the other day. Mac is a different kind of guy than Bill. Mac is a very personable. He is great with media. Side note for the media, for the local media, I really feel for them because they can't hardly get a read of the program because they don't really have access. I talked to my guy today, and he said I have never felt this disconnected to the program ever, and he's been covering them for 12, 13 years. See, I've never felt this disconnected to the program because there's just not much access. They're tight-lipped everything. I'll be curious to see if that changes because one thing that I believe that the local media, I'm not talking about national media, but local guys like your insiders that are doing this stuff, when they're posting out stuff, they are the gateway to the fan base. The
Yeah,
fan
they're
base are the
the beat.
bosses.
The beat is
Right.
who you're talking about, right?
Yeah. So like when the what their job is to get information to us, the fans, the viewers. We're the boss. We pay the bills. We're the ones that they're asking, hey, send us NIL money, all this, send us money in, donate, buy this certain thing, and the money will go to our NIL collective. We're funding the bills. We, the fans, the people, are funding the bills. It's not like a corporation in the NFL. It's a little bit different. So I'm gonna be curious to see how he does. And I know a lot of fans are not too happy with the fact that we don't have access nowhere near as much like we used to. We used to have player interviews during spring and coaching interviews, and he did one or two coaching interviews. Just about spring. Oh, this is how the spring practice is what we're doing, and that was about it. But you used to have players. It used to be inclusive. It used to happen inside of the actual practice facility. It's not happening in there anymore. It's back up in the main interview station they have built up there, up in the Keenan Football Center. But so it's different. It's a whole heck of a lot different. And it's so different that we've saw a lot of our beloveds leave. You guys have one of them in Bo Atkinson. Good Thor. Uh, you know, and I'm happy
By
to
the
see him going to
by the
Tulsa.
way, we totally adopted that, and I even put that in the thumbnail.
I know I
Thor.
saw it. I loved it. I absolutely loved it, dude. But also Amari Campbell, a stud linebacker, visits Penn State. I think this Friday. I think it's this Friday he visits Penn State. So we're losing some guys, but we're also gaining a lot too in the portal. And right now, we talked about this over there at the Hill Bros the other night about how this shift is happening, and we don't really know what's going to happen because some people are mad, like all our best players are leaving, or these best players are leaving, and it's just a waste of time and everything. I'm like, a lot of this is going to be cost of doing business. I will say there is some head scratchers. Bo is one of them. But yeah, a lot of it's cost of doing business, and a lot of it is we are going to have to see how this thing goes, and our eyes are going to be glued to the television on that Memorial Day, just like everybody else's. When we take the field against TCU, prime time.
We're gonna dive into that schedule in just a minute, but let's before we talk about what our expectations or what your expectations are going to be for the season in 2025. Um, the local media and you guys have been I guess you could say uh, knowledgeable of the fact that Bill has a, shall we say, very young girlfriend. Uh, and now the
My
national media,
age.
the national media has now picked up on Jordon Hudson as well after the interview Bill gave about his book with CBS that has just gone berserk. Is she going to be a problem, brother? Or do you think that this is just all blown out of proportion?
After you sent me the message this morning about us doing this tonight, I called up my guy and I'm like, hey, let me ask you a question. I'm like, I'm seeing all these reports. I know you are too. Is there something to this? He said, I believe I can say this. Part of it. There's some of it I have to leave out, unfortunately, but that's because of his job. But the part that I can say is he said North Carolina knew what they were getting into, and they're about knee deep right now. So let me put it to you this way. As long as they're winning, everything's gonna be a-okay. um, I'm. This is a soap opera. I sung the Full House theme the other night, and I'm gonna make a Full House intro, and I think it's gonna be the Hill Brothers intro all football season this year. Is the Full House, and I'm gonna have Bill, and then we're gonna have her, and then we're gonna have all these different things. She is definitely she's been tagged in. I don't know how much you've saw. I don't know how much is out there, quite frankly. I've just saw a little bit, but um she has been tagged in business emails through the football program, and she is basically his manager. That is a legit thing. And the concern so far is that she is going to interrupt him with football. Now, here's where I push back on a little bit. Just like I just mentioned, go look at the recruiting standings, go look at the transfer portal commits, go look at everything he's doing. He ain't taking that foot off that gas. He's still on the road. So it's if she has a problem with interviews, okay, whatever. Have your interviews, conduct them, do whatever the heck you want to do. I don't care. Just don't affect that. And so far, that hasn't been affected. Now, we haven't gotten into the season yet. We haven't gotten into fall camp yet. We've been through spring. We saw what that's like, somewhat. Basically, we have an idea. But I have a feeling she's going to be an issue when it comes to the media side of this. And we're already cut off enough as it is. That's not going to sit well with the fan base. I'll be curious to see how Bill handles this because really, Bill's going to have to really adapt to college football. Now, what helps is that we are in a completely brand new day. College football isn't college football like we knew college football to be. It is slowly or very fastly transformed to the NFL. That's why guys are coming from the NFL to college instead of vice versa. You look at Nick Saban, it's like, oh, it's becoming too much like the NFL. Let me get out. Let these guys like, man, I want to get out of here because it's becoming the NFL and I want to be college football. Amateurism is gone. So that helps Bill. He's used to this a little bit. Adding her to the mix is what's going to be the interesting part.
Well, I
Because
mean, I guess you could say he's kind of marrying the two because he's
yes,
got literally the NFL and college sorority all in one, all in one. Like,
he's got
you know,
Michael Lombardi and a 20 my age woman. Now, I wasn't smart enough to go to a 4-year. I went to a 2-year. But if I went to a 4-year and you really did the whole, depending on what you go into, I'd be getting out of college this year. All I'm
it's
saying, uh,
it's gonna be something. It's gonna be
she's
something.
she's 24 and she just got the reins on a golden horse. Now, can she lead said horse? That's going to be the question. And he's going to have to help her with that if he wants to. Bill's not a media guy. We know this. So this has the probability of being very interesting.
Oh yeah, this could be a train wreck, or at least kind of like TMZ-ish at times. You
Oh yeah,
know, where you're
100%.
gonna get that what'd she say or do now type thing, and as
Yeah.
long as that like that's kind of what distracts from what's going on behind the scenes, it can actually be a good thing if you play it off that way, because it'll allow Bill to kind of do his thing without having to worry about the media in a lot of ways if they're so
Mhm.
distracted on following her around. and what she does and says next. But
I tell you,
it'll be
dude.
incredibly interesting. It's definitely one of the main storylines in college football 2025. I wonder if she'll get on the NCAA football cover.
Come on, Eric. Come on.
I mean, didn't they have what's his name from Michigan last year? It's pretty much the same thing. He was a diva too.
Oh,
Donovan,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, boy, wouldn't that be like a deluxe edition? It's her and
Deluxe
Bill.
edition.
It's her and Bill with the rings on and everything. Jesus, Eric, you done started something. Somebody's gonna catch a wind of what you just said, and by God, George's gonna be like, yeah, 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 yeah. Let me get that. Oh man, come on, honey.
Her next. There's a press conference. She's like, "I'm in the game."
She's gonna post. Oh Jesus Christ.
Uh,
Oh my God,
sorry,
this is
brother.
great. I love
Sorry,
it.
brother.
No,
All right, man.
I love it.
Let's do this. Let's break down your schedule this year real fast here. You talked about the big one against TCU. You got Charlotte. You got Richmond and UCF in the non-con. Um, so TCU's interesting.
Hmm.
They're not TCU. They were in the CFP in the four. They made the 14 CFP a few years ago, and then they haven't been able to get their way back in what is now just a wide open Big 12. Try to figure out the Big 12, man. It is that conference from top to bottom is just, I mean, it is so middle of the road that you have no
Yeah.
idea of what's going to happen from week to week. But that's going to be, I think, a really good measuring stick game for you guys to start the season off. Um,
Hmm.
at at Charlotte, explain this to me. What is North Carolina doing going on the road playing a, a group of five team?
We did a home and home series with them, so they came to us last year.
Doesn't matter. You guys are big
But
dogs. Doesn't
so
matter.
what was supposed to happen is North Carolina and Charlotte were actually supposed to play at Bank of America Stadium, where the
Okay.
Carolina Panthers play. The unfortunate part is that week before they're doing the Dukes Mayo Classic with I think it's App State and Charlotte. They're playing.
Mm,
They didn't want to go back to back, and then also you got the NFL season starting up, so there are preseason and all that good stuff. So you go back to back weeks. They have to have the Dukes Mayo stuff up, tear it down, and everything. And they said no. So they said we're keeping the classic because that's something that we do every year, but that will go to their house. That and Charlotte was actually supposed. Charlotte's in the middle of a complete renovation up there, and their facilities are going to be pretty daggum good. Like
mm.
they're kind of going all in up there, but it's not going to be finished by the time the Carolina gets there, unfortunately.
Okay.
Rabid
Obviously,
fan base, by the way, extremely rabid fan base. They are nuts.
really.
Oh yeah,
UCF, interesting game. Uh,
yes.
very very interesting game. Again at UCF, so you're going down to Orlando. Um, I'm looking at this non-con. I'm thinking, I mean, 4-0, 3-1 is probably what's going to come out of that. 2-2, and I think that's obviously not good. So I would say three and
Where do
one.
you think the one would come from if you had to pick?
It's either, I mean, I would think it's either TCU or UCF, obviously, but
Mhm.
um, UCF since they got the home field, maybe.
Yeah. That's kind of one. That's the one I'm thinking of now. TCU is North Carolina is actually not favored in that game.
Yeah, but there's going to be a lot of you're at home.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of pomp and circumstance. It's going to
Yeah,
be
a
crazy.
lot.
One thing that we have to understand. So, like, there's a saying: North Carolina football is going to North Carolina football until it's not North Carolina football. What I mean by that is Carolina has done a excellent job over the last 5 some odd years of coming into a game like that where it's like you got the excitement and then Carolina find a way to lay an egg. So there is and TCU is they're going to come in there and they're going to be fast, physical. think about it. You're the first team to get a crack at Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels, and
Yeah,
you got
but
a
this
chance to
is
shut them down
right,
at
but
their stadium.
this is also North Carolina's first time to get a crack under Bill at somebody.
Yeah, and
And
I
I
hope to God that's the attitude that they're going at it with. Like, we're about to go literally destroy you, and not of, "Oh my god, we have to win this game. If we don't, we're screwed."
if Bill is still the Bill that we remember from the NFL, they'll be ready.
Yeah, and I'm banking on that, but I'm nervous. But the UCF game, that's gonna be an interesting one because UCF has been a sneakily good program for a while now,
Yes.
and,
Yes.
they have had some down years, but now they got their golden boy back. They
Right?
just got him.
Scott
So,
Frost, yeah.
yeah, and he had a great stint at Nebraska, I heard. But
Our Common Fan podcast would beg to differ.
I have my barber, he's a big Nebraska fan, and he's like, "I can't stand that guy." But yeah, so him going back down there, they're gonna be excited. Um, I'm nervous about that game, and then you come into the Clemson game.
And see, that's the other reason why I would say UCF might get you looking ahead a little bit.
Oh, yeah,
Now
Clemson's gonna be tough.
you get a bye week between UCF and Clemson, but still
Mhm.
you're going to get Clemson. You get them at home. Clemson is going to definitely be, I think, a top 10 team, if not higher, maybe even a top 5 team. I'm guessing that Clemson is going to be favored by most experts to win the ACC
Should be.
in 2025. Um, this is a huge game for Bill and in the direction of this program. Not saying they have to win, but they definitely need to have a good showing here, I think, to kind of get some good feels, especially if you do drop one to UCF. Um, and then you get, I think, look at the rest of the schedule, pretty favorable schedule.
Mhm.
Cal on the road, yes, you have to go all the way across the country. I know a little bit about their starting quarterback, former Buckeye,
Yeah.
went out to Cal. Uh, kind of a guy who's going to use his legs, maybe, but arm is kind of questionable.
Didn't they get that I can't say his last name, but that quarterback recruit from, Oregon? He was gonna I think he committed to Cal, flipped to Oregon, but then came back to Cal.
I'm
Some
not
big
sure. I'm
some
not.
massive long name guy. He was
Yeah,
like a
I
five-star plus guy.
Devin Brown's going to be their starter as long as he's healthy.
Okay.
So
I don't
I
know him
think you
too
can
well.
count on that. Virginia at home, that should be a dub. At Syracuse, I'm calling it now. That should be a dub. Stanford at home,
Yeah, they've lost a lot. They've
that
lost a
should
lot
be a
over there.
double dub.
Yeah.
At Wake Forest, I don't know that Wake Forest is going to be back for a while. So
Mhm. They've lost a lot. A lot.
then you get Duke, but you get them at home. Uh, I don't know. Duke seems like they kind of surprised me a little bit last year. I thought they would drop more than they did after losing their head coach to A&M. That one's going to be interesting. I haven't really caught up yet on where Duke is at and what they're feeling going into this season, but it is a rivalry game.
I
And then
can't
you
wait to watch their locker room drama.
who that
They
Duke?
They picked up the quarterback, Mensa, out of Tulane, and their running back, and Mensa was very much known to be a diva, and
Mm.
I can't wait to watch it just burn. I'm excited. And
Sounds.
NC State, they always find a way to beat us. We have lost just like y'all have lost to Michigan, we have lost to
Oh,
NC
don't
State.
remind
It's
me.
the same amount of years in a row. It's ridiculous, and they always find a way.
All right, and then you get the big one at NC State. Okay, so I'm looking at this schedule. Okay, 8-4. I think. What do you think Vegas is going to put you guys at? 7.5.
Yeah, they put us at 7.5.
Did I nail that? Okay,
Yeah,
look at me. All right.
yeah.
If it's at 7.5 and you held a gun to my head, I would say take the over. I think you can get 8.
Who's your 4?
NC State, Clemson, UCF, and either TCU or Duke.
I like that. I like that. I like that.
You just
So
flip a
coming
coin with those
in,
two.
Yeah, coming into this season, now this is before this most recent transfer portal cycle. I said that North Carolina, you I don't see how you don't win 9. Now, we've lost some key players. That is going to be now, and we have brought in a good number of people that have promise and talent. I just haven't seen them closely enough to say, hey, I know that Bo Atkinson will do this. Amari Campbell will do this. I don't have that same assurity as I did. This is a much more younger North Carolina team. At quarterback, we did just get Gio Lopez, and I'm very excited to see what that kid does. But I don't know. So I'm looking at it. TCU, for me right now, I'm leaning Carolina like 60-40. My confidence level with that was like 80-20, but it's dropped a little bit. Charlotte, you should go win that game. Now, that will be an interesting one because that quarterback that I told you that was playing for North Carolina that seemingly didn't have he just wasn't a baller.
Mm-hmm.
He's now their quarterback. Dual threat guy. Richmond, obviously get that win. At UCF, that's going to be a toss-up for me. That's a 50-50 ball game. And depending on how you do against TCU will kind of dictate to me how you're going to do against UCF. And you got to watch UCF, see how good they are. But I had them winning. So this was my original. My original was TCU dub, Charlotte dub, Richmond dub, UCF dub, Clemson loss, California win, Virginia win, at Syracuse win, Stanford win, Wake Forest win, Duke win, and you lose at NC State.
So you're going 10-2.
That was my original.
Okay.
With now, I've been having to relook at it. And with those losses, I'm adding in UCF. And honestly, I could see Virginia.
I was gonna say Virginia's sneaky.
Yes.
Gotta watch out for the Who's. I've been following them with their podcast here at the Huddle, and
I love those guys too.
yeah,
Great.
they're
I always
they're
love getting talking to them.
they're good dudes, and they're building a good platform. And
Yes, they are.
Virginia, they're pretty bullish on Virginia football doing something this year. So,
Yeah.
um, but that being said, if you go 10-2, Nathan, you might as well win one more and just go to the freaking CFP.
Yeah.
I mean, why not?
Yeah. And you know what? This entire prediction could be shot in a heartbeat the second they get out on that field.
Oh yeah,
I'm always been the optimist. And with the collection of talent that I've saw come in, with from what I hear and what I see and from what I've studied about the guys that have come in as much as you can, because there's been I think been over 75 players turnover in North Carolina, coming in, going out, the whole deal. 75 brand new players. Um, I like the collection of talent. Now, it
got to
may
make
take
them
a
a
minute.
team. Yeah,
Got to make them a team.
got to become a team. Yep.
And what the good news is a good number of these players have been on the same teams before. So you kind of have some chemistry there. Kind of think Indiana, when he took a lot of his JMU guys up there, they had played together. They understood the system. They understood what was going to be happening, and they were able to gel really fast. There's a hint of this here, and we'll see what happens. But I'm excited and very curious to see what happens with Carolina football this year. It has the chance to be really good. Carolina could also be barely bowl eligible this year too. That is 100% a possibility, just because we don't know.
If it Either way, if it's 11-1 and you guys are dancing in the CFP, or if it's 6-6 and you're just trying to make a bowl game, one thing is for sure. That is Jordon Hudson and the media are going to be doing quite the dance this season, and
Oh, dude, yeah.
I am all for watching you and your brother dance around that dance, brother. Let me tell you something. I am.
Oh man.
I got one more question for you before I let you go, man. And this is I got to pick your brain for a second. Now, I
Okay.
have stayed away from ACC is going to die, and all these teams are
I
going.
have a feeling you were going here with this. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
and everybody's going, and we're this team's go, this school's going to go to this conference, and this school's going to go to that conference, and then you guys are going to, and I mean all of that jazz. I just got one simple question for you: Is North Carolina a Big Ten school or an SEC school, and why? Not what does Nathan want. What is North Carolina?
North Carolina loves their academics. That's first and foremost. We definitely know that. But North Carolina is also kind of right now in a part of getting in with what's going on. And we've heard that there's an internal struggle. If that was to happen, if Carolina was, and honestly, what if Clemson or see, North Carolina is like that very quiet influencer in the back. They want to
Mm-hmm.
make a change, but they're very quiet about it. And then if somebody else, tells the teacher first, then they'll come in and butt in. They're very much one of them. So basically, if Clemson or a Florida State were to be able to break out of the ACC, North Carolina's on the first train roll now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with to where, as to your question, I would think they would try to go SEC more than anything because North Carolina does like being regional. They did not want Cal and Stanford and SMU in the conference. They definitely wanted to be more regional, ACC, Atlantic Coast Conference, not all Coast Conference. They wanted that. And with the money that's in the SEC and North Carolina, and they're getting more and more into like I don't say into sports, but they're taking a whole lot more seriously as we see with football. I have a feeling that they would lean more if they had an equal opportunity of getting into either or. I think they would lean more to the SEC, but just by a little, if that makes sense. And
It does.
honestly,
I think
yeah,
it depends on who's making the decision.
yes, 100%. And currently, if you'd asked me this before Belichick was signed, I may lean. I would say the same thing, but maybe lean more towards the Big Ten because they
Mm-hmm.
are academics, and that's going to be a big one for them. Is they love their academics, and nothing wrong with that at all. But I think with their shift, they're really trying to get pushed in the other direction,
Mm-hmm.
and they're keeping the academics. They're not. I'm not saying they're tearing off of that, but I think they're leaning more towards the sporting side of things than anything. That in region, being regional as well, being in the area.
The one thing I will say is yes, it's Florida State and Clemson that are leading the charge
Hmm.
for we need more money to compete. ACC, hello here. We need more
Yeah.
money to compete.
The ACC would be fine with a better commissioner. That's just the truth.
I believe
Commissioner's
that.
dog garbage. I mean, he
I
is
I
horrible.
I believe that. But here's what I'm going to say. Yeah, it might be Florida State and Clemson that are making the most noise, but the school that everybody wants is actually North Carolina.
Hmm.
That is that is no joke. That is the absolute truth. And I think if you put the two commissioners from the Big Ten and the SEC in the room, and you say, and you have them fight for the first draft pick, they're actually fighting for North Carolina.
I could see it.
And
I
and
could see it. Carolina's a
that's
brand.
not a slam. That's not a slam to Clemson or Florida State or anybody else in the ACC. And I'm not just saying that because you're on this podcast right now, Nathan. That's the God honest truth, and I actually know that to be a fact. And there's a couple things that are holding would hold that up, and it would be the whole does Duke come with us, or we're not leaving unless Duke or North NC State are with us, or things of that nature.
Well, thankfully that got voted down. So thankfully that is not a deal, and that was actually not something that North Carolina wanted. That was something that the daggum governor wanted. Well, he just got
Right.
voted out, or his term ended. So, he up out of there. But yeah, that was something. Even the school was like, "You're not packaging us with it," because I
You know,
mean,
was
little brother.
the whole funny thing about that with Duke and NC State was I was like, what about Wake Forest? They're like over there, going, hey, Tobacco
Wake
Road.
Wake Forest is an American school. I like them. I got nothing wrong with Wake Forest. No problems with Wake Forest. They're an American school. They're not an ACC school. I'm sorry. That and Boston College. What are they doing in the ACC?
I've often thought that several of the ACC schools, in all honesty, just they're Big East.
Mm-hmm.
They're Big East schools. If you all remember the Big East, that was
Yeah.
Boston College, Syracuse. Those are Big East schools,
Yeah.
and Pitt, Louisville. Somehow they got to find their way back to the Big East, and or the Big East needs to find its way into bringing football back, I think. But that's neither here nor there. But that's interesting that you would say that. Now, since you answered that honestly, I'm guessing, Nathan, you're leaning to you would want North Carolina in the SEC.
Personally, yeah. Again, because of regional matchups, I'd like to see Carolina being a little bit more closer for me to be able to go and see like an hour away from Columbia, South Carolina. So you got the Gamecocks down there. That could be instantly a rivalry. It already is. The Battle of the Carolinas. Who's the real Carolina? Um, then you've got Georgia down the road, Tennessee just up the road, just to name a couple. You can hit Florida. I would be curious to see if the ACC was to break up, who would go where. I would be curious to see like a Virginia, and like where would they go? Would they be more of an SEC school? I have a feeling that they would be. Match them up.
Really, I think
Mhm.
Virginia's completely a Big Ten school.
Really? I mean, I could
Yeah.
honestly, I could see either or.
Well,
I know I'm.
yeah, I think one of the arguments that I've heard very much so from SEC folks is that they want the state schools. So no offense, Clemson, you know, we already have South Carolina. We don't need you. We want North Carolina. We want Virginia. That's the argument I've heard from the SEC. And of course, if you were to ask Big Ten, they're coming back with the exact same schools. Now, what's interesting about that is I think Florida State is enticing to the Big Ten on a level, but academically they don't fit with the Big Ten academically. Um, Believe it or not, Miami fits more with the Big Ten than the Florida State does.
What?
Yes, Miami academically is, believe it or not, fits more with the Big Ten.
Hot dog. I never would have thought about that.
You think Miami and you think South Beach, you think but
Party school.
right, but yeah, but it'll be incredibly interesting because Miami's the one that really no one talks about,
Mhm.
and I just find that interesting because they're kind of like, I mean, that's a big name school, really, if you stop and think
Yeah.
about it, at least in football.
Yeah.
Baseball too. That's a good baseball school.
Yeah, pretty
So's
decent
North
baseball.
Carolina. North Carolina's a good baseball school, man.
Number 4 in the country right now, beating Georgia Tech 9-4 in the bottom of the, I think it was the sixth. I just
Look
saw.
at look at you. Look at you. Nathan, tell everybody where they can find the Hill Brothers at if they've stumbled upon this podcast.
Well, you guys can head over to youtube.com/Heel Brothers, and you can check out me and my brother as we talk our North Carolina soap opera and the Tar Heels every once in a while, too. We have a good time over there. We enjoy talking about everything that is Carolina related as much as possible. Ooh, 12-4. My bad. At the top of the eighth. It was George Mason. That's right. We got Mason, and then we got another school. Anyway, um, catch us on Twitter, same thing. Hill Brothers, Facebook, Hill Brothers as well, Instagram, Hill Brothers here, there, and everywhere for you to go check out. And we have a great time. Just sitting back talking North Carolina. A lot is going on, if you can't tell already by as much time as we've been on here tonight.
Yeah.
Um, it's a lot going on, and we're having a great time and enjoying the headlines and the storylines that come with everything. But no, Carolina's in a good spot. I personally think it's a very interesting spot, and I'm excited to see what happens with Carolina football and basketball, and which basketball's had a pretty good portal cycle and everything. I'm very excited to see where everything goes with this team and with the organization that it is over the next 5 months at least. Let's just get through football season. Let's see what happens. But anyway, that's us. We are the Hill Brothers. As always, go Heels.
Go check them out, everybody. Make sure you give them a good like, subscribe to their YouTube channel if you haven't already. And if all else fails, go over to thecollegehuddle.com. Scroll over to the ACC, scroll down to North Carolina. You'll find their page there. You can find all their socials and everything else on our website as well. And give this video a thumbs up. Put your comments down in the comments section below. We'd love to hear from you. That way this video can get shared with more people as we continue to grow this channel and the College Huddle combined. We'll have another one for you coming at you here real soon, everybody. Till next time, go Heels.
Go Heels.